Hi everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for coming along. As you can tell by my accent, I'm from the UK, so it's pretty late here. So yeah, it's really good that you could join. Today, I would like to mostly show you audio note taker. So it's going to be very much focused around the product itself. But before that, I would like to just talk about the problem that the product's trying to solve, and that is note-taking. And I think a lot of students struggle with note-taking, but for students with disabilities, in particular learning difficulties, it's actually an impossible task. And I think it's something that's not had any good solutions in the past. An audio note taker is a solution to this problem. So I'm not sure if you saw a video that got passed around before the presentation, but I would like to show you that at some point. But firstly, let's just think about why do we note take? And to answer this, I was just saying that a lot of students struggle with recording information, which they need to do because how else are they going to then learn? So we note take to record that information down from a transient source, i.e. the teacher's classes, so we can then learn and memorize that information. It's an important skill for students, especially at college. So even at high school or even maybe junior high, it's an important skill to be able to capture down that information in order to learn it again. And it's going to be important all the way up. So how do we note take? And it's actually quite a cognitively difficult task. We need to listen and concentrate on what's being said. We need to process that information and decide what are the important parts, which are the parts that I need to record down. And then you need to get that information down, normally written using words and a pen and a paper, in your own words as well, because it's impossible to write verbatim exactly what the teacher is saying. And all different parts of this process are very difficult for a number of different students. And you guys will be familiar exactly with the different difficulties different students have and which parts of this process people are going to struggle with. And the fact is, you're only going to be able to learn the information that you note down, because maybe the first time around you hear it, if you're able to concentrate and process that information, you may understand the main points, but often a lot of specifics you'll often forget them, and that's no good for the student who's studying for an exam. They need to be able to record down all these important pieces of information and then be able to learn that. So note takers, you may not even want to have the information in written format anyway. That may be inaccessible to you. And if the information is given to you verbally, you're then converting it into an inaccessible format. And thirdly, they're expensive, I guess. And digital recorders are what a lot of students in the UK get given, because that allows the student to then go back and listen to their class over and over, in case they miss it first time round, or in case they're not able to take down the information first time round. But digital recordings are just so hard to work with. I don't know if you've ever sat and tried to really extract information. I don't know if you've ever tried to extract information from an hour-long recording, but it's almost impossible, and it takes so long. It'll take 4 or 5 hours just for an hour-long recording. And then the life of smart pens as well. And they are a good solution for a number of different students, but they do have their limitations. You do have to constantly be writing something in order to index your recording, in order to be able to go back to it. Normally that's going to be words, so for someone who struggles with words, then first of all, it's very difficult for them to be able to access that information again afterwards. And secondly, your note-taking is a bit where you compile the information and really kind of sort it down into the key points. Has to be done live. You have to do it at least as you're listening, because otherwise going back to notes is just reviewing it. You just read it and then listen back to what you need. So yeah, so there are limitations even to live scribe. Okay. And as I said, there are problems with recorded audio. And I won't go into too much depth about them, but essentially the audio is very difficult to navigate. You've got this one long timeline, and to get through it you kind of have to click along it. But if it's an so this is the point where I'd like to show you this video, which should be coming up now. Let's see if this works if I play it. And this really talks about the experience of people, the difficulties with note-taking, and then how audio note-taking is a good solution. And I think it'd be a good introduction to the software. But really, I'd like to just show you the software, what it does, and how it solves those problems that I've described.
My name's Dominic, and I studied law at King's College London. When I first started, I found difficulties getting through all the reading, and many times I'd be up till 2 or 3 in the morning just trying to keep up. I found out that that was probably due to the fact that I was dyslexic rather than the quantity of work that was required to be done.
My name's Gareth Mason. I'm a course director for a specialist teacher training course in adult dyslexia diagnosis. Students with dyslexia can struggle quite a number of different academic tasks, like reading and writing and spelling. But one of the things that really isn't discussed as much is listening and listening comprehension.
In the lectures, it just means that you don't always catch everything that the lecturer says.
My name is Enrico. I'm an assistive technology specialist, and as a part of my job, I assess students with learning difficulties, and in particular with dyslexia. For a student with dyslexia, taking notes is a very daunting task. They have to listen and write at the same time, and that is nearly impossible for them.
Initially, I began taking notes longhand, just writing them out on paper. I tried doing mind maps, but it was very difficult and I missed out large chunks of information. And then I was recommended audio note taker, and things just got better from that moment onwards.
Students really struggle with listening and note-taking. Audio note-taker really enables them to sort of get the most important information and store it and make it meaningful.
Audio Note Taker is a really visual program, and that is immensely helpful because you can organise what the lecturer or tutor has said very easily. You can highlight points which are more important or things you didn't understand and re-listen to them again and locate them very easily.
Audio Note Taker is a very visual software, and that's great for students with dyslexia. It allows them to sit down, listen to the class, and not worry about missing any information.
The visual side of it is incredible and just enhances the audio 100%.
Audio Note Taker provides a really useful visual way of getting information out of a recording, but also it provides you with a way of connecting other information like PowerPoints with notes to label certain parts of the recording to make sense of really quite complex recordings.
The biggest impact that the software had was that I was incredibly much faster with my note-taking, much more efficient. I was doing it in half the time that I was before. I was starting to feel equal with the other students who were non-dyslexic, and I was actually getting so good that people were just coming up to me and saying, "Wow, can we have your notes?"
Audio Note Taker is such a simple software to use that could benefit anyone really, starting from teenagers up to any age.
I'd recommend Audio Note Taker to anybody. It's the hub of my learning. It brings together everything that I need to do and makes me that much more efficient. So if you were dyslexic, you'd need the software. If you're not dyslexic, you can also use the software to improve the way you're working and become much more efficient at note-taking.
Audio Note Taker have been helping me so much, both in my work life and in my learning life, that I could not envisage going back to pen and paper.
Audio Note Taker is one of the most useful pieces of software that I use as a dyslexic. It's really been helpful. I think it'd be really useful for a lot of people.
It's all about independence. It's about taking control of your own learning. When you have somebody taking the notes for you, you're relying on them. When you have the software that allows you to do that task by yourself, it sets you up for the future.
Sonocent Audio Note Taker offers a different approach to the note-taking problem. And we first launched in 2007 in the UK, so that's 5 years ago almost now. And since then we have been developing a concept further. But it relies on something very simple, and that's a visualization of speech from audio recordings. And the idea is that audio recordings are a great way of capturing this information so people can come back to it later. But it's so difficult to work with. Yeah, so Audio Note Taker has a visualization of speech, and this means that it's very easy to go back and listen to something you've just heard, or hop from phrase to phrase to move through a recording. But more importantly, you can start structuring it into bite-sized sections that relate to either slides or to text. And then you can also create your notes without having to use words at all. And you do that by marking the original spoken phrase itself with colour. And you can use colour in a multitude of different ways to mean different things. Yeah, and it works with audio from any source. So you can import it from a digital recorder or your phone or even a live-scribe pen, or you can record live straight into the software. So as long as I stay connected, I would like to show you this. So I'll just show you my screen now. And this is what the software looks like. This is just our tutorial. And you can see over here we have the audio. And I'll just play that so you can see what these bars do.
Welcome to Audio Note Taker for the Mac. We like to think of Audio Note Taker as being a bit like a word processor for spoken language. Not because it turns speech into text, but because it makes working with audio so easy. We like to think of Audio Note Taker as being a bit, but this tutorial will cover all the features of Frog. Sometimes you may need, in which case, you'll want to click the press play button at the top.
So you can see how each spoken phrase relates to one of those bars, and I can quickly go back and listen to something I've just heard, or move through the recording trying to find the bit I want. And you can also see how each bit of audio is in a section here, and I've got a space for text over here, and then a space for images as well. So how can you create notes from that? And I'd just like to quickly work through an example for you, just to show you how that's done. So I'm just going to... Okay, I think you can see the screen now. So as I said, Audio Note Taker works from audio from any source. And you can import it in afterwards, but I'm going to show you the live recording because I think that's really useful for students if they can take their computer into class. If you have access to PowerPoint slides, then you may want to import those in. It's not completely necessary, and you don't have to do it beforehand. And then you just click the record button to start recording. And you can see that Audio Note Taker is turning what I say into these bars. And whenever I stop, then it stops. So what the student would do is when they hear something important, the kind of thing that they'd normally write down, they can mark that with a color button just up here. And in fact, maybe if a lot of it was important, and they realize, hang on, the last 30 seconds have been important, they can mark that retrospectively as well. And that way, when they come back to their notes, they just have to go to the important parts. And it's really easy to organize your notes, so if the topic changes, then you can just press this button and your audio will move into a new section. And really, that's the only two things the student needs to do to create these minimal notes. You just need to mark what's important and then move the audio into a new section every single time. But you do have a space here to type notes if you want to. And you might want to do anything there. You can copy and paste large portions of text, or you can put hyperlinks to web pages that may be relevant, or you can add links to documents on your computer that are relevant as well. And you've also got a space here to import PowerPoint presentations or PDF documents or add images. And the fact that you've got your images, you've got notes, and you've got your audio, and you've got your annotations all in one place means that these are very comprehensive notes. You've got everything you could want. And it's also easy to get rid of stuff. So if you think, hang on, that wasn't important, you can just select it and delete it. Or if you think, hang on, this bit is probably better in this section, you can just grab your audio and then move it over. It's really, really easy to use, and it's intuitive. And so as I was saying, so you can mark, you can tag your notes with this metadata, so it's really easy to find your notes again afterwards. I just brought up this file search, so you can list by the metadata here. So if you've got a teacher for a class, you could list by that teacher's name, or if you've listed your class names, then you can just search by that. You can extract colors into new files, and this is great for students who really struggle with words, but I think they could use it to do a lot of things, really. So what they may want to do is they may want to listen back to their audio and then record themselves doing a summary and saying, these are the main points, it's X, Y, Z. And then they mark that summary they did themselves with a color. And then they do that twice, or however many times they do it for every slide. And then they can drag their slides so they match their summary instead of the original notes. And then they can extract those colors. The student can listen to their notes on the move, and it's normally a condensed version if they've done a summary or if they've deleted what they don't need. And we do have a bunch of other features that makes it really easy to use too. Like you can slow down or speed up your audio. You can also view it in full screen mode. But really that's the gist of the software. And I imagine it's been very difficult for you to follow that, seeing as I keep getting kicked off. But hopefully you've understood that note-taking is really hard, but if you can come back to the information again and listen to it in your own time, then it's much easier to then understand the main points. Audio Note-Taker offers a really simple, visual and clear way of going back to your classes and really getting to the important parts. So marking the key points, which you may have done when you were first there, or you may do afterwards. And then reviewing your notes with the slides and maybe even typing notes out. It's probably worth noting that you can use Dragon to dictate into this notes pane as well, so you don't have to type if you can't. And it's also, the software is also really good for organization. So when students have lots and lots of notes from different classes, then by being able to search for keywords, it's possible to very quickly find the relevant notes. So this solution is really well established in the UK, particularly among students in higher education.
How many of you have used an audio-based software for note-taking? Or if so, what software have you used? The Mac software, is that the one, Viva, is that the built-in voiceover that you're talking about? The OneNote software that you're talking about, Viva, is it similar to this Sonocent audio note taker that Dave is talking about?
The difference between Audio Note Taker and any other solution is that every other program that combines audio and text requires you to be typing text in order to then access that audio again easily. Whereas Audio Note Taker visualizes the audio. So in fact, the student doesn't have to write any text whatsoever, because they can use that visualization to then annotate specific phrases and use that to indicate what they need to come back to and what they need to learn. So it's just for students who struggle with using words or writing words, then it's just a really good different approach. Yeah, thanks, Rosemary. Anybody can download a 30-day trial from our website. You can go to audionotetaker.com or sonocent.com and just go to downloads and then just go to free trial. And if you would like to email me as well, I think Rosemary could pass on my email address, then I'll be happy to give you a serial code for the PC version or the Mac version in order to use the software perpetually, either for evaluation, demonstration, or please contact me if you've got any more questions. We'd love to hear from you, and as I said, I'm very happy to give you serial codes if you'd like to extend the trial beyond 30 days. So just let me know. Okay, thank you very much.